Hey guys, it's Matt Barker here with you again, and today we're going to talk about a Rogue One E-11 Stormtrooper blaster that I've made from a Hasbro cheapy, junky E-11 toy. It has kind of a good sound effect. I didn't change the sound effects on this. I didn't put in any special electronics or anything, but I did a lot of modifications. There is a kit from DHPFX that I found on Etsy, and that kit gives you parts that are made specifically to fit onto the Hasbro blaster. This stock is a single piece. These are all molded resin parts, and they are, again, like I said, made specifically, and they're pretty durable. Like, I wanted something. This isn't for like trooping or I wanted to have some weight to this blaster. I wanted it to be sturdy, not something that would just break. The kit comes with this part, the stock, comes with this sight, which is, I believe, an M19, replica of an M19 sight. Again, it's a cast resin part. It also comes with this pull lever that you would use to charge the Sterling submachine gun, which is what these are made from. Originally, it's what they came from. It comes with these two tubes that are the cylinders, but I made this bracket. These are meant to just glue, I guess. The guy that makes the kit, in the videos that he makes, and he does make videos here on YouTube how to assemble this, but I changed it, I modified it. These parts are great, but I just wanted a little bit more detail. And these are mounted into a bracket that I made out of styrene. I cut them and I inserted a pin. I drilled a hole. If you can see that, I drilled a hole all the way through, inserted a pin with glue to hold it, and I drilled a hole through this so that they could go through that, and then I just super glued them to the whole bracket. And this is just brass pipe that I just laid in here in super glue, and then I just sat that entire bracket down onto the magazine holder. The magazine holder and the magazine are also a single part that glues right onto the gun. Fantastic. The way he makes these parts is great because you can modify them, you can drill them, they're solid resin. They're not like a 3D printed part, which in my opinion is just a display piece. You can't really carry it around because if you were to drop it or bang it on something, you're going to crack it and break it. I mean, I ordered a 3D printed kit for an E-11 and it arrived broken. Got broken in the mail. Anyway, this kit also comes with a Hengstler counter, and comes with this cap back here. Now, this is all one part. It looks pretty good, though. It is supposed to be a D-ring that actually is movable, but this entire piece just glues right onto the back of this. As you can see, it's just one piece, and it looks really good. And then I made, out of steel, I just had a piece of thin, it's about 1/16, maybe a little thicker than a 1/16 inch steel. And so I had a bar of it, and I just bent that bar to screw in right here, and screw in a little awkwardly right down there. I made a bend and screws right in there. Mounted the scope to that. The scope comes pre-drilled and pre-tapped for screws. What you have to do with this Hasbro blaster is you have to cut this completely flush with the top of this. And then I went ahead and filled those gaps. It gives you a bunch of gaps. And so you're cutting all this off. You have to cut this off too because you want that negative space back here. Because you want to be able to see, you want that bar that comes across here, the scope rail. You want to have a negative space in here because that's a main thing that you see in the films when they're carrying these around. You can kind of see that there's a gap right there, so you don't want to see this. The scope all gets cut off. Like I said, it's flush with this. He gives you a piece that you can glue right on top of that, but I did a little more modification than that. Kind of hard to see probably. I didn't want to make a video of while I was doing all this, but I just wanted to show the finished product. But you can see that I kind of cut these pieces to fit, and then I made another bar coming off of it. You can see that I attached it to the front screw on the scope with another bar that came off with a bend, and that's screwed into the back of the Hengstler counter here, and that's what's holding that in place. So this entire thing is one unit that comes off if you remove this screw and this screw. What else? There's also a nose piece that comes with his kit. Really nice detail on that piece. These are cast in screws. This is another piece that comes with it. Now the holes don't line up. I had to drill my own hole up here in front of this, which is prototypical. He also gives you in the kit these T-tracks. The arrangement that he gives them to you to put on here is not screen accurate to most of the blasters, none of the blasters in Rogue One, and I'm not sure that it's accurate to any of the blasters in A New Hope. But he gives them to you to cover up the holes in the Hasbro gun perfectly. And you have to cut all these off. You have to grind these off. I used a Dremel with a sandpaper barrel, ground that off, and you just have to fill in the holes that are not prototypical. And like this one up here, I filled in the extra hole or the extra gap, I should say. As you can see, it goes back farther. That top T-track on the Hasbro gun goes back farther than on my finished gun. And when you grind that out, there's an empty slot, and I had to fill that in with another piece of ABS. He gives you some scrap ABS and some epoxy, and then sanded it flush and filled it in. But as you can see, everything came out pretty clean. Just have to work at it. But the coolest thing about this is the flashlight. Now, I found this on eBay. I actually made two of these guns. Here's the other one. But what this is a, you can find it if you look, M300C, I think, flashlight or mini flashlight. And you can just type in KX1A, maybe that model number, and you can find it. Now these, and I also mounted a rail that I found on eBay. Let's see if I can just take this off real quick. And I have to put a little piece in here in this gap right here, or it'll move around. But anyway, just because of the rail that I found. But this rail that I found on eBay, it's just a scope mount rail, but it's the right size, the right length, roughly, for the Rogue One blasters, just like in the film. And I had to trim these T-tracks. I also kind of rounded these down. When you get them from him, these T-tracks kind of go straight across, and they have a flat end. And you can see in his video, you can look it up on YouTube, but I just rounded them down because they dive into the holes that are in the barrel of this, you know, on the actual blaster. And so you want to make it look like they're diving down into those holes a little bit more than the pieces that he sends you. But the pieces that he sends you are great. I'm not trying to talk bad of them. They're fantastic. They're the right size, the right shape, and you can modify them to however you want, whatever degree you want. And they're just great. Can't say enough about this kit. It's awesome. And then I just screwed these right into the barrel. I actually filled in the holes behind it with epoxy. It was kind of a process. There's a red strip that's kind of behind it, and I did multiple layers of epoxy in those holes because it kind of drips down into the gun, and until I kind of got them flush. And that gave me a sturdier, because none of this lines up with these holes. These holes are all wrong. And you kind of have to find, there's a lot of information online, a lot of photos and videos you can get, photos I should say, from A New Hope and Rogue One to see the correct, there's actually a whole like huge page on one of the forums that shows all Rogue One blasters, and that's what I went off of to design how I mounted this. Anyway, just screwed these right into the gun. And then, like I said, well, I dropped my little gap piece there, but I'll set this one aside and we'll finish up with this one. And then I just did a bunch of weathering on this. Painted, I do a lot of model railroad stuff, and this is polyscale paint. It doesn't exist anymore, but this is oily black. I used this to paint in the chamber slider thing here. I used and I just kind of did dry brushing in here. First I painted it silver. This silver, another polyscale. This is aluminum actually. Painted that all with aluminum, let it dry. Then came in with the oily black, and then I just dry brushed the whole rest of the gun to make it look like metal. Up here, this is actually a brass part in real life. On the tank scope is a brass part. And you'll see in all the photos and all the forums and everything. And I just used gold. I used Model Master gold and just dry brushed that. So you can, looks like the black paint is wearing off, and you can see the gold, the brass underneath. Looks pretty good. Yeah, and I didn't do anything to the flashlight yet. I actually just got these in the mail and just put them on, but they're so sick. They work perfect, light up. They just look amazing. I love this so much. Yeah, just dry brushed around. All the edges, you know, get worn on these blasters. And so you just make it look like, find some photos, kind of, this is all worn off, this paint on a lot of the ones that you see, just because they're holding it all the time. Yeah, and that's basically it. These are just really... This is a really fun project with a really cheap, junky gun. It sounds pretty good. I left the LED in the nose so it lights up. And the light can blind you. So, right? You're welcome. And, yeah, the only thing that's really unrealistic about these is this part back here. Like if this was, if you really wanted to, you could cut this all out and you could kind of fill it in. It would be an empty tube underneath where this is, and you could kind of fill that all in if you really wanted to make it realistic. This also, you could chop this part out underneath, but it's kind of covered up by this. Yeah, those are E-11s made from a Hasbro base, and they look pretty awesome. And yeah, hope you enjoyed the video.